All right, y'all. So I had to do an immediate reaction to this because just the first minute of it, I was like, let me just restart this and watch this in full, because this is gonna be crazy to hear. Former Fed explains the top recent Diddy case developments. Y'all don't know who this is. It's Myron from Fresh and Fit podcast, and let's just get straight into it because, yo, the first minute had me like, yo, I had to react to this.
All right, what's up, guys? Welcome, man. We got something a little bit different, pre-recorded video because we can't live stream in here. So I'm doing a pre-recorded video with no edits, straight raw, no Diddy. So, guys, real quick, let's go over what is a freak off. A freak off, basically, guys, is what Diddy does where he hires escorts, male escorts, to have sex with Cassie. He watches, gooning in a corner, and when they finish, he goes in a private room with her, takes said fluid, okay, we're gonna make this, keep this somewhat YouTube friendly, and then he smears it on himself, okay,
What?
or Cassie puts it on him, and then that's one session completed, and then, you know, they would go.
Bro, I want to throw up. Fluid from the male escorts or fluid from himself? Either way, man, this is sickening, yo.
And do multiple of these sessions within this greater freak off thing, and it would last between 24 hours, and then Cassie said up to 4 days. They were doing this once a week, and it would last like damn near half a week, multiple times. Obviously, they were using drugs to do this stuff: GHB, ketamine, cocaine, MDMA, ecstasy, you know, cocaine, everything, right? So that's what the freak offs were. So now that you guys know what a freak off is, let's get into some of the most explosive stuff that came in the last day of trial, last day at least for Cassie's testimony. So as you guys know, basically, she was on cross-examination from the defense. And cross-examination, guys, is when the defense is questioning the government's witness, trying to basically catch them in lies, hurt their credibility in front of the jury, and try to make them pretty much out to be like, okay, is this someone that I can't trust? Or, most importantly, create what? Reasonable doubt. Why? Because in the United States of America, in a court of law, you got to prove them guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. So if the defense is able to basically, you know, distill the, make the water a bit murkier, right, where you create this reasonable doubt, they've done their job. Their job is not to prove their client innocent. Their job is to make you, think, man, maybe he can be innocent. Okay, so that's what you guys need to understand. Once again, it's the government's job to prove you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. It's the defense's job to maybe make the jury think like, maybe he's not guilty. Okay, they're not there to make you innocent. They're there to say, question whether you're actually guilty or not. All right, now that we went over what a freak off is and cross-examination. So the defense is asking Cassie a barrage of questions, and during the cross-examination, there was some explosive stuff that came out.
Mind you, I just gotta say this real quick. The fact that I'm assuming her husband that she's with now, and even a baby's on the way, like, that's a part of the reason why our world is so destroyed. Like, it really starts with the men. Obviously, the woman, they've made some terrible decisions, but the fact that there's a man out there that would even still commit to that, knowing what this girl, like, have you not known what this girl was really doing? Like, male escorts were getting hired to smash her, and her man was watching, and they smeared themselves. I mean, I can't, man.
So the first thing we're going to talk about is this guy named Sujit. Now, this guy named Sujit is a dude that Cassie knew, who came to her and said, hey, I heard that there's a sex tape out with of you. And when he told her this, she freaked out because in her mind, she's like, oh, like the freak off videos are out there. So she contacts Diddy. He says, don't let him out of your sight. And Cassie starts pressing him. Hey, where's the video? Can I see the video? And this guy, they played the recording in court chat. Now, the government did not play this on direct examination, but the defense did. And when they played it, what basically happened was you can hear Cassie basically yelling at the guy saying, hey, where's the video? And he says, and he's drunk as hell, by the way. They're like in somewhere, she was doing 2 different events and they were out partying. They were in Atlantic City, then they were going to New York City. And you can tell from his voice and stuff like that, and the slurred speech and the delay in his speaking, that he was a bit drunk. But he said, oh yeah, I had the video. She's like, oh, you got the video? Show me that shit right now. And when he didn't produce the video, she started to get irritated. And she basically yelled at everyone that was around, hey, all of you get the hell out of here right now. And you can kind of hear like people dispersing.
What the hell?
And she goes ahead and she says, yo, I'm going to stay here all night until you show me this video. And if you don't, I'm going to fucking kill you. Okay? And I'm going to bury you. And then she said, and if when I kill you, it's not going to be me that does. I'm not going to get blood on my hands, but you're going to get taken care of, basically, right? Implying a murder for hire type situation or whatever. She threatened to kill him like 3 or 4 times throughout the recording guys. So it was crazy because you're able to hear another side of Cassie, and I think the defense played this, to show that Cassie does have a violent side. This was a very violent relationship between the two of them. Diddy did beat her. The defense conceded to that, but what the defense was saying is, hey, this is a domestic violence relationship case. This is not a human trafficking case. This is a case of 2 individuals that were abusing drugs, abusing alcohol, partying all the time, in a dysfunctional relationship, toxic relationship. Jealousy was huge. Both parties had their jealousy motives, whether it was Cassie being jealous of Diddy and Kim Porter getting the wife treatment while she was, being used in these freak-offs, or it was Diddy being jealous of her, being with Kid Cudi and, committing arson / blowing up his car. So the defense was arguing more from that perspective versus the government is saying, hey, he was using escorts and affecting interstate commerce by having these escorts sleep with her, and he used his power and his influence and his finances and his position and violence to coerce her into these activities. So that was the first explosive thing. We got to see a side of Cassie that we had not necessarily seen, and listening to her on the recording was very revealing. She was using expletives. She was saying that she was going to kill him. She's saying that she's not going to get blood on her hands, and she threatened to kill him at least between 3 to 4 to 5 times, guys. So the next thing that was also very interesting.
Make sure y'all boys drop a like on this video, man. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell and hit all notifications, man. This is one of the we're 5 minutes in, and this is one of the craziest things I've ever heard from a case already, bro. Like.
Here
weird and
was the rape. So as you guys know, she made the allegation that Diddy raped her on or about August of 2018, and this is actually something that she mentioned in her lawsuit. Okay, the lawsuit that she got filed against Diddy, which he ended up settling with her for $20 million.
Damn.
In 24 hours. And long story short, back in August of 2018, she met Diddy for dinner at an Italian restaurant.
20
in
M's.
Malibu, California. And when they met up, she ended up going back with Diddy to her house. And according to her, Diddy forced himself on her and, raped her. And she says basically that, she told him stop. He didn't care. He kept going. And, it was bad. Now, something that to note here that's very important is that she was dating her now husband, Alex, at the time. Okay? So what the defense did was they showed conversation that she had with Diddy after the rape. Okay? And this obviously is very important because it shows that, if he raped you, why are you still communicating with him? And not only did she communicate with him, they actually met up again after the rape. Okay, and when they met up after the rape, in September of 2018, they had sex, consensual sex. And to make things even crazier, while they were having sex or while they were together, her now husband, Alex, FaceTimed her, and she declined the call. So,
what the fuck? Bro, what the fuck is going on here? What is going on here? Oh, God.
This is absolutely nuts. And when that happened, I was even myself, I was in the court, I said, cooked. What the hell? So he figured this out, that she was with him, and she had said that her husband punched a wall when, Diddy raped her. Now, it begs the question that I think all of us have here. Did he actually rape her, or did she make that story up to avoid taking accountability for cheating on her man?
Ta-da! Ta-da! Oh, boy, man. Oh, boy. It's not rocket science, man. It really isn't. It really isn't, man. Bro. Come on, man. Come on, man.
And that is the question that you know a lot of us have, and like honestly, none of us are gonna know. But what I will say is that you know that is a bit weird where you're broken up with this guy. You guys meet up, have dinner together, talk about going to a concert, and then he's at your house after he drops you off. You guys have sex. You say it's rape, right? Which, you know, maybe people might, you know, give you the benefit of that, whatever. But then you continue to communicate with him after that, texting each other and stuff. He even said himself, hey, yeah, I know I didn't turn you on. I fell off. You know, I'm gonna get back on it, though. And they continued to have conversation, romantic conversation at that. And then they met up again in September. Okay? Now, the defense, I will make this note here, that the defense did try to kind of challenge her because what she told agents and the lawsuit was different from what she said in court, you know, between August or September being the month of the rape, or whether they had this conversation that led to the rape before or after Burning Man the concert. But, you know, it was in August or September of 2018. You know, it's not that huge of a discrepancy, to be honest with you guys. This is, what, 6 years ago now, 7 years ago now at this point. So, you know, you could make that, you know, error. But the point, the things that matter when it comes to this is she goes to meet him. They rekindle the relationship to a degree. They have dinner as friends. Then they go back to her place. He allegedly rapes her. She continues to communicate with him after that. And then they actually have sex again, September 27th, 2018. And her husband FaceTimed her during that call. Something else that was explosive that came out as well.
So now what does this guy do, right? Because obviously, we know the guy's a simp. We're just going to say that. Her husband's obviously a simp. He knew that she was around Diddy. He knew what was going on. And that's just the unfortunate reality with some men, man. Some men are just, they're not men. They're just little boys. So he's going to sit there. What now? You sit through the court documents. You hear all these things. And baby on the way, just your wife. It's just like, man, no respect for themselves, man. None.
Guys, was that she sued the Intercontinental Hotel, or no, she didn't sue them formally, but she basically made a complaint against them, and she got $10 million. Okay,
Yo!
This is something that.
So she got 20 M's for the Diddy thing, 10 M's, 30 M's, and it's just like, at what cost though, right? Because some girls, and this is the problem with the poisonous society today, where it's like some girls might see that, oh damn, like whatever, but it's like, how many cats do you think there's going to be? And what do they have to go to get to that point, to get those 30 M's? Imagine what she really went through, the things she really did, the things she really partook in. Yo, it's like a horror movie, bro.
I really knew about, and she had settled this with them literally at the beginning of the trial. Okay? And she got $10 million from Intercontinental. And this was not public information, at least not widely known. And when they dropped that was pretty big on her. And that was kind of what they left off on. And the defense basically, guys, was, you know, the defense argued from the perspective of, look, you guys were communicating, you guys were breaking up on and off constantly. You were having relationships with all these other guys. Diddy was jealous of you. You've cheated on other guys, and what they basically attacked was her credibility, promiscuity, sexual past, etc. Now, what I will also tell you guys is that the prosecution was objecting like a motherfucker in there, okay? Because that's their top witness, so they're going to go ahead and do everything that they can to ensure that the defense isn't attacking her. And what I will also say that was, you know, for anyone that hasn't seen this trial, the lawyers are great. There's 6 AUSAs on this case, 6 or 8 defense attorneys on Diddy's side. And you are really seeing some really good lawyering because they're objecting to everything, they're challenging everything, they're trying to keep things from coming in, and that's what they should be doing. Okay, this is what your defense attorney should be doing. So anyone that's like thinking about becoming a lawyer or wants to get into that world, especially when it comes to criminal defense or criminal prosecution, this is a great trial to watch because the attorneys are very good. All of them are pretty damn sharp. Both sides are objecting and going really hard for their party.
Oh boy.
What else here? So
again, guys, if y'all made it this far in the video, y'all know what to do. Drop a like, comment, subscribe, man. Hit the notification bell. When you guys hit the notification bell, all y'all got to do is select all, so you guys get notified for every single thing that I drop on this channel. But yeah, man, this is very wild. Let's keep it rolling.
So yeah, when they did that, when they were objecting,
and
this is really interesting that the government did this. The government objected when the defense had prepared a whole bunch of exhibits that they were going to use that actually came off of her cell phone, and these exhibits were a lot of the evidence. Well, let's rewind back here a little bit. So the freak-off videos, guys, that were used as evidence in this case actually all came from Cassie. They did not come from Diddy, contrary to popular belief. They all came from Cassie. And these were on old devices, iPads, iPhones, laptops, etc., that were broken. And she gave it to the government. They were able to extract it with their forensic agents. And what ended up happening was when they extracted them, they got these videos out. And they played these videos, or no, excuse me, they used stills from these videos only for the jury to see, okay?
What the?
And they were like edited, whatever, on direct. But on cross-examination, when the defense tried to bring these images in for their arguments, the government objected using basically rules of evidence that that violates sex victims' rights, okay? And they were able to object on these things. And whenever you do an objection in court, guys, the way it goes is like, hey, objection, speculation, relevance, what does, violations of, I think, 412, which is the statute that they were relying upon to protect Cassie when it comes to, going into certain parameters when it comes to victims of sexual crimes, because victims of sexual crimes get certain benefits and privileges and rights to not have their, sexual past used against them unless it's extremely relevant to what's going on here. So the government was able to derail a good part of the defense's cross-examination by objecting to a bunch of the stuff that they had ready to go off of Cassie's own devices.
Man.
Because what the defense was doing a lot of times was they were taking evidence, right? They were taking the same government evidence that Cassie was using to go after Diddy. They took it and Uno reversed it and was using it back on Cassie. Because you can't just give some parts of the stuff. They got the full phone extracts. And in those phone extracts, guys, there is loving communication between Diddy and Cassie. And that's what the defense focused on versus the prosecution talked about or focused on the parts where she said, I didn't want to do the freak-offs, or, having her explain other questionable texts where she might say, I love you here, but in reality she's saying, well, I said that because I don't want to lose my career, blah, blah. So they were interpreting the same line of messaging or the same evidence completely differently, which also was also very interesting. But the government...
When are we going to stop making women get away with acting like children? Like, when's that going to stop? You know what I'm saying? Like, are they adults or are they children? It's like, they just make it seem like, you're responsible for your actions. You know what I mean? It's so tiring, man. It really is.
A good job of kind of derailing a good part of the defense's strategy on cross-examination with these images that they were trying to use that came from Cassie's phone. What else here? There was something else that I want to tell you guys. But yeah, the $10 million demand with Intercontinental that she got. Then she got another 20M from Diddy.
30 M's.
Right? Oh, another thing that the defense brought up, and I actually called this on my stream. They attacked her finances. So what they did was they said, hey, you moved back to Connecticut with your family, didn't you?
Oh.
And she was like, yes. And when they said that, they're like, well, your family, the house you grew up in was a modest home, correct? And she was like, yeah. So though Cassie didn't explicitly say it because the government kept objecting, they were asking her, well, how are you earning money at this point? He's a former personal trainer. He was kind of doing some personal training. Like, how were you making money? And she was like, well, I was like performing somewhat. And they're like, oh, well, how many times did you perform? And she couldn't really give them a clear answer. And she told them that she was going to go on tour in 2024. They're like, okay, well, you canceled that tour, didn't you? And she was like, yes. And they're like, why? When did you cancel? Oh, I canceled it after the lawsuit. And, that obviously didn't look good because she had this tour plan, this world tour, where, I assume she was probably going to go under other artists because she's not as relevant right now. So she's probably going to, partner with some other more relevant artists to be a part of the tour. But it was going to go to different places across the world. And she canceled this tour, guys. And for those of you that aren't familiar with the music industry, touring is the majority of the income that most artists get. These record deals a lot of the times aren't as lucrative as people think. They actually make their money from performances. So, the defense bringing that up that, hey, well, you actually ended up canceling your tour and you moved in with your parents prior to that, so you kind of needed the money. But then after you did this lawsuit, you know, boom, next thing you know, you canceled the tour. So that was very important. She tried to write it off like, hey, I want to be with my kids. You know, I didn't really want to do the tour. The lawsuit took a lot from me, blah, blah, blah.
Bro, she got 30 M's, bro. Like, what the
But, you know, basically they were able to kind of plant that seed like, hey, you know, you guys were having money problems, and that might be a reason why you decided to do this, right? And then the government obviously redirects, are you making any money from doing this trial, blah, blah, blah? Are you being compensated? She said no. But obviously the civil case versus the criminal case are two different things. And the government did rely on information that was provided in the civil case for their criminal case as well. So that's also something that was very interesting that was brought up. So they attacked her finances, her motives. They attacked her credibility. They attacked her sexual past to a degree, whatever they could get, you know, were able to bring in. They attacked how, you know, she was complicit in a lot of these freak-offs, where she was the one organizing and getting the escorts to do these freak-offs. And I do think that they did a pretty good job of, you know, at least having the jury question. And the rape situation, I wasn't in the main courtroom today, but from what I spoke with some people, they said the jury even was like, oh, man, when they saw that she actually had consensual sex with him after the alleged rape. And her husband was there in the courtroom as well as this was going on.
Oh, man.
So, crazy stuff, guys. Crazy stuff. But those are some of the highlights from today's day of testimony. I want to make a quick and short video for you guys on that.
All right, y'all. That's gonna actually. Let me just see if he drops any other gems.
Studio. We might as well utilize it to the best of our ability. So, thanks to Academics for letting me use the studio, man. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed this quick little summary here of what went down on this day with some of the highlights. And yeah, live streams are going to have all the information with the timestamps as usual. Don't forget to check me out, guys, on all the channels. YouTube, Myron Gaines X, X, Myron Gaines X, and Instagram, Fed Reacts, depending on how much longer I can stay on there without getting banned. But anyway, love you guys. Catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
All right, y'all. That was very disturbing. I think I've said everything I needed to say within the video, but I'll just say, man, guys, just for everybody, man, be careful what you get yourself into and understand. Really try your best to understand what it is you're getting yourself into and think about your actions before you do them. I know it's very, very cookie cutter, cliche stuff, but unfortunately, the world we live in today, you got to keep constantly repeating that to people. Every situation is not worth being in, and try not to sell your soul, man. Try not to sell your soul, because no money's going to be worth the things that might happen to you to get to that money. So do it the right way, do it the smart way, do it the strategic way with risk. And yeah, very, 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 very disturbing stuff. I'm not going to lie, but I think it's important to know about stuff like this. You know, you get to know what's going on behind the scenes, man. The world is not how some people think it is at times. I think most people should know the world ain't a good place at times, but very disturbing. But y'all know what to do, man. Drop a like, comment, subscribe, hit all notifications when you hit that bell. Also, guys, be sure to follow me on Twitter at RealJRRanks. And DM me videos over there, man. Any videos you guys want me to react to, DM me over there, and I got y'all, boys, man. I'll see y'all in the next one. This one was very, very disturbing. Very disturbing.
I've been so locked in, make it move so I don't fall off. Never bite a hand that feeds you, you might